truth you find is the key now. Reach your fear and you will all be free now. Community, it's time to get better. You can't avoid it, we're all in this together. Head high, fill your heart with love and light now. Come together and it will be alright now. Come together, you can't run forever. Come together, it's now or it's never. Community, kids are dying in the streets now. Change your mind, unity is all we need now. Community, kids are dying in the streets now. Change your mind, unity is all we need now. Change your mind, unity is all we need now. Change your mind, unity is all we need.
Chris Sanders with Community All Unite TV every Thursday from 8 to 8:30 on Comcast Cable and Xfinity. I am in for a special treat, and you are, I guess, if you're interested in this show and its host, Chris Sanders. I brought Steve Cooper, who of course is one of my best friends, and he's also a mentor to me, to come in and do an interview in reverse so he can ask me a couple of questions and let my viewing audience know a little bit about me and why I'm doing what I'm doing, and maybe a little bit of my story of how I started doing this type of activity and work in the community. So, Steve, you can introduce yourself first, and then we can get going.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Steve Cooper. As I said, as Chris said, I'm good friends with him. So I suggested that we kind of I know all the things that Chris is doing in the community. So I said, well, Chris, what about if I interview you? And he said, well, that'd be a good change. So I said, well, let's put that in play. So what we decided to do is I'm going to interview Chris today. I'm going to ask him some questions because what we really need to know is, who is Chris Sanders? So Chris, first and foremost, I'm going to ask you, who is Chris Sanders? We see, you in various capacities, you're Wisdom Shapes Minds, you can, with other organizations, you're always willing to help people, you're at various events. Just explain to me how you are. I know you have a strong family background, from both your parents and your other family members. Just explain to me, who is Chris Sanders? Right. Just, you can start with your childhood and how you were brought up and things of that nature.
Sure. We can start off with the fact that I'm a legacy. My grandfather was an activist through his profession. He was an assistant to an orthodontist, and he decided to build a little studio, or what you call a lab, in his basement. And he started making teeth for folks in the community, or it could be dentures or anything like that. And then he, of course, always gave me wisdom, and he always sat me down and talked to me about different things I should look out for. He used to always say, watch those kooks out there. Because, he's from Newark, and he was always making sure that we were careful to watch around. Because my upbringing was in a suburban town, Plainfield, and I really didn't get all of the street smarts back then that you can be looking around and making sure that you don't get taken advantage of. Actually, one time I remember I bought what I thought was a VCR, no, a camcorder, right. And I got it home and it was a brick. I bought it the okie doke. Yeah, I bought it from a lady at the time, and we were all excited to get it home. We didn't open the box we bought it in Newark too. Right. We didn't open the box until we got home, and it was a brick. I was like, yo, that's a lesson in itself. We paid for a brick. Yeah. So paid for that lesson. Right. So I had a great upbringing. My parents were both doing well. My mother was a teacher, actually turned into a person that studies kids and tests them for different levels of education. And then my father was in construction, and he was running his own business for a while. And I was always back and forth to Newark. He had me in martial arts out here, so I got a chance to know some of the young folks that were from here, but I never really stayed here until I, got out of college, and then, of course I had summer jobs here, but I was really excited about it when I was able to start working here. And when I got here, of course, my father being an activist, he was a board chair of the Urban League for several years. Then he moved on to board trustee of Boys and Girls Club. So, and he was always hiring folks from the community and trying to figure out ways to get jobs for folks in the community. So that's what he every time I saw him in a meeting, he was talking about, I want to have my workers on this job. So he was an advocate. And I've heard a lot more about him and the things that he's done with Gus Henningberg and, of course, with Sharp James. And, he's had a couple of developments in the city that the town was, gave him the opportunity to build. And he was also a part of the arena over there, Prudential Center, as a project manager. So he had a lot of experience. He's always taught me that, of course, be fair, try to be a person of your word the best you can, and then, of course, work hard. So, the work ethic was the biggest thing that I used to always see him on the weekends. But he was a smarter worker than I am. It takes me a lot longer than him, but he was really efficient and good with the numbers. So with that, I said that, I want to follow in his footsteps and give back to the community. And of course, I've always been spiritually based and felt like, there's reasons why we're here. And one of my prime examples of giving back was, of course, Jesus Christ and that spiritual journey. And then I explored other cultures and their religions and who were the higher evolved beings in those and what was made them so special. So I always connected to that. And then, I've always connected to mentors that were really, I guess, outspoken and really positive and doing, things in the community like Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, even some of what was the young lady that ran for Charlie Chisholm? Yeah. There's a whole bunch of other ones. There's Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad. All these people, I saw them as fearless individuals that just wanted to, make things happen. Now, actually, Mike Tyson is one of my mentors, and you wouldn't have thought it when he was raising up. He was so well, not say well spoken, but well versed in life and life experience.
He's been through a lot.
Yeah, he's the one that kind of made me understand it ain't about the failures that you have in life. It's about getting back up and keeping going.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because those failures, those are worth money, really.
Oh, definitely. That's what leads to your testimony.
Yeah.
Right.
And anytime I had to struggle, I would look at it like that. I'd say, okay, well, I'll be all right.
Right.
I'm gonna keep on fighting, no matter.
Right. So,
I started an architecture firm out here, and I partnered up with two folks, and we, it was called WSM Associates. And so we started doing small jobs, little houses here, and a lot of little things around. And we really never really came together as a cohesive unit because we were all at our different firms, but we were doing projects, together, so to speak.
Right.
And I told them I wanted to do this community development thing because we're not getting that many projects in the beginning when we first got here.
Right.
And I told them and talked to them about it and said we can call it WSM Community Development Corporation. And we could do a lot of stuff in here, and it would work out as not only will we be doing things for the young folks in schools and teaching them about architecture, but we would also be networking and getting as many people as we can to know what we're doing. And that, of course, that once you get known, your network is your net worth, right?
Yes.
That's how I think I met you at one of the events, right?
Yeah, I met you at one of the events, and then we got engaged about development as far as mentoring and things like that, and I gravitated towards that. So one of the things that I pride myself on when I first met you was a lot of people talk about what they wanted to do in the community, but you were actually out there trying to do it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. One of the depths that I think that you have that's advantage over is the activism of your grandfather, leading all the way up, and then that legacy was transferred to your father, and now your father transferred it to you. So, a lot of times when people grow up in pretty much, and I'll say this modestly, they grew up in an affluent, somewhat kind of environment. They don't really want to give back per se. So that's why I applaud you, because the fact that you had this experience, you could have just went out and stayed out in the playing field, surrounding community, but you came back to your roots, which is Newark. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I think is a powerful testimony for you, as far as your family, the legacy, and your family's legacy. And I think you need to remind people that your father was one of the first commercial developers in the city of Newark. With I think at the mayor at the time was it Kim Gibson or was it Sean James?
Kim Gibson.
Yeah. So I remember reading about them in that regard. So those are the things that lead to your foundation. Now you say that architect is based on the structure, but I always tell you, and this is a great example, that architect really is concerned about the foundation, and you have a great foundation.
Thank you.
Right. So let's get into this wisdom shapes minds concept. So how did it transfer over from an architectural firm to now into being a community development corporation, and more so mentoring and being involved with all the activities you're involved in?
Well, Newark was the reason why I came back to Newark, because it was my father being here, one. Then when I was in college, there was a thesis project that I did. It was called the African American Cultural Arena. I was always talking about Africanness, and I was getting these visions of, Africa, and want to go back to Africa, which I haven't gone yet, but I want to go. And when I go back, it's going to be with 20 young people. And so then I had this idea where everybody watches what we do, entertaining and sports, and even now politics, and we're like always in the arena, in the center, of doing different things, like kind of really, I say, energetic type of stuff,
Right.
So I said, we can do this African American cultural arena and teach young folks on all other cultures what our history was and who we are, and then give us a couple of platforms. One, there was going to be a theater there, a smaller theater, and then a bigger theater. And I was actually lucky to have Gail Thompson as my mentor, because she was the administrative architect over at NJPAC. Yeah. And so, mentors are so influential in your development. When I got her there and I was able to see them building NJPAC, I said, I want to do this right across the street, because this is the cultural district of Newark. Right. And there was an available parking lot. And so I took that information from Gail. Gail gave me the site plan of what the future was going to be in this area. There was supposed to be a big symphony hall next to NJPAC. Right. But they're not going to do that, right? But so when I started thinking that, and I started thinking about this arena, I thought about the Coliseum and everybody looking at us. And then when I got here to start working, I saw that everybody was separate. All these cultures were separate. Right. So I said, I can't just focus on us, although we're going to be the prominent force, because it was the prominent force on the design itself. The look of this building finally became something that looked like it was from Africa. Right. But there was going to be two big billboards on the side with the African family on one side, and then a race to the finish line. That one that you've probably seen before, that painting. Yes. On the other side. But when I got here, I said, let's promote all cultures and provide a unity with this building where we can heal any divides that are in the culture. And it'll be, every 3 months, there would be a celebration of another culture. Because there was a museum in it, a learning center similar to the Holocaust Museum, where you could put headphones on and hear about a different culture. You can make it a part of the student curriculums in the schools, and everybody would learn about each other every 3 months, another culture. And so with that, it became an idea where this can have a baby. If it was going to have a baby, WSM would be the baby that would help, start bringing all this information into the schools. So I had all these different mentors and teachers and folks to come in the schools and teach different, things that could help elevate them and get them in a better, clearer direction of where they want to go. So, like I said, my partners weren't really enthusiastic, or else they weren't really, involved. So I said, let me change the name so that I don't get any red tape with them. Right. So we changed the Wisdom Shapes Minds. And that came up kind of like, it's almost when you do have an initial that just becomes something that you didn't even know was going to become.
Right, then it comes to.
And it explains the whole thing. Wisdom shapes minds, and teaching these young folks. So,
But that's the legacy from the older people transferring the minds of the younger people.
Yes.
And that's the void that's created, right? So that's why mentoring is so important.
Yeah. They said back in the day, I guess it was the time of Black Wall Street, they used to have a lot of professionals in the schools. Yes. The town's professionals used to be in the schools teaching the kids. Yes. And that's what we're trying to recreate. Yes. And so with Wisdom Shapes Minds, I went to every restaurant that allowed me to speak about this thing, and I would email all the people I knew, and they would come out and bring their friends, and I would get their, write down their names and emails and have them come and talk to the kids.
Right.
And remember, I had you come and talk to the Covenant House and talk to the kids several times. So that started blowing up, and it also got the network together, and people started seeing what we were doing. And I had a friend of mine that was doing the 501c3 applications for different people. Ron Hollis, he did the application for me. Then I met my now wife, and she helped me do a lesson plan. Charlotte Searcy Sanders, I like to say that, Searcy Sanders. And she helped me do my first lesson plan, and she helped me get into my first school. And I just, at first I was so intimidated by talking in front of them kids. I used to shake my hands.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I used to hold the paper. They could see it.
They can see it.
When you're afraid in a situation, they see it. I had a friend in Brooklyn. I went to go talk to them kids, and he came down. He said, "Yo, you don't look like you did when you was in college. You gained weight, got a pot belly now." And back then I was all six-packed up.
Yeah.
He said, and you was intimidated by the kids. You can't let them see any fear in your whole demeanor. Cannot have fear. That was the first time I heard.
I don't think it was fear. It's probably that you wanted to deliver the content.
The energy.
And the content you wanted to be perfect.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a fear. You're not scared of kids. It's
right.
that you were just wanting to make sure the content was on point.
Sure. Right. And in delivering speeches was not something I
practiced. Yeah. So that's why I told you.
Yeah.
You do Toastmasters.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I tried that for a little while.
Toastmasters. Good.
But one of the things I did realize is that there is a sense of fear. A fear of what they're thinking about you, a fear of messing up the delivery of your speech, a fear of what people are going to think, are they going to receive this information well? And I started saying, I'm not going to have fear.
Right.
The first time I said I'm not going to have fear, I started thinking about the different things that I wanted to do that I wasn't doing.
Right.
Like singing. Yeah. Like, of course, speaking in front of people. I had a friend of mine, I can't remember her name at the time, but she helped me get in front of a lot of different art schools and audiences and try to speak and give them motivational speech. One opportunity I had was to do a convocation, or it was a graduation for these young folks, and I wrote down bullet points. It was going to be the best speech, talking about how they need to, have spiritual grounding and all this stuff that was. And I went through those bullet points in less than 5 minutes.
Oh, get up.
That's it. And I have nothing else to say after that.
Oh, no.
So I crumbled. I felt like I was crumbling. And I said, well, I hope you got the message. Goodbye and good night. and one lady outside said, yo, there was good jewels in there. It's a shame it was so fast.
Right.
And their graduation, I might have messed up their whole graduation by that speech.
No, but you told them what not to do.
Right.
Educational. Right. So let's talk about the spiritual, Chris. Like, why? There's got to be something in you. Based on your spirituality, you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something in you that's intertwined that says, listen, I can do better and my community can do better.
Sure.
Like we're familiar with saying a rising tide lifts all boats,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something within us. And the spiritual side says that, we're always concerned about others.
Yes.
It's not really about us.
Right.
That's the epiphany that you had.
Mm-hmm.
So can you just speak to your spiritual side just for a second?
I had the Baptist background. We even touched base in the Methodist church a couple times. My mother would always take us to church.
Yes.
And then when I got to college, I started getting this really yearning to know the Word. So I read the Bible, and I started I had a mentor. His name is Vaughn Russell, and he was really, really spiritually a highly evolved person. And he started telling me about all these other different things that are going on with like a Melchizedek method, where they talk about all cultural, spiritual belief systems, and how we're basically separated. Our belief systems are causing us to separate, but this Melchizedek method brought everybody together and respected and got to know each other's, their spiritual beliefs. Mm-hmm. And then he also gave me the idea that you can create what you believe you can create. Mm-hmm. You could speak it into existence. The power of your word is really so strong. Right. That, once you say something, universal law and the law of attraction can start rallying people to you to get that thing done.
Okay.
If you're truly true in your intentions.
Yes.
And then when I got rid of the fear, I said, oh, okay, I'm getting rid of the fear and I'm filling my heart with love and the love intentions. That type of love intentions, of course, one of the prime examples is Jesus. And then, of course, all the other Buddha and all these other highly evolved spiritual beings that I learned while I was dealing with Vaughn Russell.
Okay.
And we learned about the muscle. Your mind is a muscle. And once you start, your perspective is your reality.
Right. Exactly.
And so now I'm there. I'm here thinking that, oh, I can, if I really want to put something together, all I have to do is visualize it, say it, see it, and then I'll be it.
Right.
And so those are things that help me spiritually. So, of course, I believe in Jesus Christ's story. I believe in him as a principle, so much so that even if he wasn't real, he'd be real. I believe in God, and so much so that even if he was no God, he was real anyway because he's in me.
Yes. And
so I believe that we're all pieces of God. We're all little pieces. So when I talk to another person, even if they get me upset, sometimes I remember and I remind myself that that's a piece of God that you're talking to.
Right.
And so if you give them love and tension and sort of try to wade through whatever fight you're having, that eventually you'll get to some even keel or even ground. You can negotiate something.
Right.
I mean, or if they can't negotiate it, then I'll love you from afar. But I still love you. You know, I don't have to hate you. I don't have to say I hate that person because I don't believe in hate.
Right.
So, you know, those type of things. And so I have a belief that I can make a change and I can make leave a legacy for my kids and leave somewhat of a stamp on the community and lead other folks to do similar things that I've been doing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I like the part you talked about. You say you visualize. You know, one of the things that I'm familiar with is people say if you can visualize it in your mind, you can see it in your hand.
Yes.
I mean that once you think about it and you believe it and you commit to it,
yeah,
then subsequently you can have anything.
Sure.
And I think what you put in these young adults and these children's minds is that anything is possible.
Yeah.
And that's the spiritual component that you deal with.
Yeah. And we've seen we've seen Barack Obama do it. We've seen, you know, Biden with Kamala Harris do it. I mean, these people, they were fearless in doing these things. They talked with this sense of fearlessness and conviction and love.
Yes.
And you know, if you get a chance to know them or look them on YouTube or wherever, they might, even Malcolm X, even though he was kind of curt in his words and his responses, a lot of time he'd be on his interviews and you could tell he was filled with, you know, a paradox of love, but he wanted justice. So justice caused him to be more aggressive. Okay. And of course, when you look at Martin Luther King, it was all love. You didn't even see no any pain. I mean, sometimes you see pain in his eyes, but you didn't see any hate. Right. So I use those people as examples in how I walk on my daily life, and I choose to get up with that love energy. Even if somebody's around me negative, I'll keep on looking at the positive in the issue.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as a spiritual person, I'm always intrigued by why we see other races and other ethnicities and they're doing their thing out there, but for some reason we as a people are somewhat stuck. Mm-hmm. You know, we're at the bottom financially, morally we're at the highest, but the other things that people look for to gravitate towards, we're usually at the lower end. What do you think we can do to address that?
Well, one of the things that we're going to do, I think, is the reparations. It needs to be something that's truly brought to the forefront. You know, all the systematic deterrents are need to be shined the light on, but we can't focus on that. We don't want to give as much energy to that as we do to creating a unified force. That's why Community All Unites here, because if we focus on coming together more so than we focus on the things that were done to us, we'll evolve and elevate past all of that. Right. And money is not the focus, because money comes through the unified force. Right. So some folks are focused on the system. Some folks are focused on, you know, like even some folks are focused on a lot of negatives that are going on in the community, but they're not focused on the solution.
Right.
They're not focused on the fact that how can we create a dynamic that once we start working together, there's nothing that we cannot do.
Okay, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you lay that platform out, so what is your vision like for Wisdom Shapes Minds? Any other social organization that you're affiliated with?
Yeah.
What is your vision, and subsequently, what is the mission that you want your organization to pursue? If not now, but post-COVID.
One of the things that I'm kind of truly getting, even on social media, every day, I'm even on LinkedIn a lot, we're seeing these young people and how really they don't even understand how highly evolved they are. They're just doing it. Mm-hmm. They don't understand what level of geniuses. They don't see themselves as geniuses,
right? Because
of course they might not be a genius at that one point, but they're doing genius stuff that you can tell that they're gonna be geniuses. Right. So when I see somebody doing genius stuff, I call it what it is, even if they're not at that point yet.
Right.
So when if we have
so you prophesize,
right? We're prophesizing it into the future. Right. I already know who's going to help pretty much be the spearhead of saving the world. Right. The black woman. Right. The person where everything came from. Well, that's my belief, and my belief is that how do you take the fact that a black woman or a woman in general has created yourself and myself and think that a man was first, right? So I don't believe that. That's not my perception. Even if that's the story, I'm not. I would before I would believe that it was a man first. I believe that it was a man woman person, right, that created everything. Right. Just one entity. And I would think there's been some stories out there where there was a woman man person entity that was able to impregnate themselves at one point, right, in past histories. But what I'm not saying to you, and get my point is that I believe that through knowledge, we're going to be able to hopefully bring together these young folks that are going to be able to understand that the only ways we're going to get this thing done is by coming together. Right. So I go to school, and teach young folks about entrepreneurship, teach them about thinking in different ways, teach them about how to design a pathway to their careers. Like my principal program is called How to Create a Visionary with an Architect's Mind. So once I start teaching them how to design their pathway, then we can start talking about those little pieces of the pathway. Right. Then we can take it into the wing of the entrepreneur where we put a budget to it. Then we can put a timeline to it. Then we can break it down and dissect it and let them see all of the landmines before they start the journey. Exactly. And I think that's a way that's going to help helping them think outside the box. I think it's a way that's going to help the school system start changing and evolving. Mm-hmm. And then I think that's a way that once we start working together as geniuses, a genius culture working with other cultures, then everything's going to sort of evolve and become better. Right. Like I said, the black woman the way I see it is the black woman is going to be the one that spearheads this. And of course, we got Kamala Harris in there. Yeah. So she might be the first black woman president. Yeah. And that's awesome. And she's open to listening. And she not only has the African or African American side, but she has the Indian side too. Right. So she's able to embrace two cultures. And then those two cultures are going to be able to embrace all other cultures because she has to work with everybody. So it's going to be, I can see it, her being a really a pivotal part of this evolution of this country. Right. Mm-hmm. So what's next for Chris Sanders? Well, I'm just focused on getting this to show up and getting some corporate sponsorship, getting some small business sponsorship, possibly taking the show not only throughout the country, but take it globally, because I think that once we learn about other cultures, we're going to start understanding, like I wanted the building to do. Right. Yes, that's funny. The building is based. I'm trying to accomplish it before the building's built.
Right.
And I want to, all those
Well,
different
that's the
principles.
architect,
Yeah, I'm trying to accomplish the same principles that building had, and what I thought the building could do in Newark. I'm trying to do with the show, and do with the things that we're doing in the school system. Just education, and and bringing folks together and helping folks evolve. And
right.
So what I see myself doing in the future is, like I said, going around the world with this showing folks what these other cultures are doing, and showing. I think it was similar to what's the gentleman that had the beer summit with Obama, and because he has a show similar to that.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he goes around the globe into different and actually Samuel Jackson.
Yes.
No, it wasn't Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
You saw the Morgan Freeman show where he's
yeah.
gone to different spiritual things all around the world and talked about all of the different, cultures and their beliefs. And, I wouldn't mind going to that. Wouldn't mind going into the, some of the things that they would say as systematic, so was it suppression or oppression?
Right.
Anything that's like, I want to deal with, I want to break those chains of thought in different people. So if I want to get better at breaking chains of thought, I want to bring people together, and if I could just get a platform that could do that, then by the time I'm done, you'll have a whole library that you can put into schools. We'll be able to do bring this platform to the schools and have the kids answer questions.
Yes.
So it's a never-ending possibility.
Right.
So I'm just gonna keep on running with it.
Okay. Now, what do you foresee as you being currently in this current environment? What's your number one obstacle other than people's minds?
Number one obstacle, it might be myself. My limitations on myself. I don't really think that a person is an obstacle, because of course I'm spiritually grounded.
Right. And
so whatever my Father wants to use me to do, they can't stand in my way.
Right.
That's the way I see it. So there's no real. I used to say, oh, money is always an obstacle. Right. No, it's not. Because I said one day, I have grant writers or grant writer right now says, oh, I just saw $1 million grant for you. Just imagine if I got $1 million grant, what I'd be doing with it. I ain't gonna go to Aruba and play around.
Right.
I'm going to set up a system that's going to help spread this word to the masses.
Right.
So it's just, there's no limitations. I just gotta keep on walking the walk and keep focused and let God use me.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great segue.
Yeah.
So I guess since we've been here for a while, closing.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to deliver some type of closing remarks relative to where you think you see yourself, like a year from now.
A year from now, in 2022, what we plan on doing is bringing 20 young people to Africa, and of course, I'm going to be doing the show from that location, so we can show the different cultures and different beliefs out there, because I want to start, when I get to other cultures, I definitely want to dig into their belief systems. I want to dig into the systems that are possibly oppressing them, and put those out, and then I want to dig into the fact that the person that might be a person I might interview is somebody that might be one of the leaders. I'd like to meet some leaders in those different cultures to see what their thoughts are on making change. To get more information. The more information we have about how they could do it, then we can get better at what we're doing. And of course, another year from now, I want to be able to say I've made Newark a lot more beautiful, because I have different projects that, as an architect, that we're putting up in Newark, and we're gonna have a first Black-owned community center for autism. That's a jewel on Clinton Avenue. So I'm not gonna even talk about all the projects, but I just want to be able to say that we made a big change in a year. But in 5 years or less than, I want to have the community center building up somewhere.
Nice.
That's what I'm really about. I'm not giving it up. I'm not going to give up, because things that I think it could do is magical. Because once we get to know about each other's culture, then break down those barriers and walls and unify, there ain't nothing we can do. We can't. They can't stop us. Cause
Awesome.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah, great. So I would be remiss if I didn't give your wife a shout out, because I don't want her to harass me.
And my kids.
And your kids. So can you give them a shout out and tell them the importance that they are to you?
Yeah. Charlotte, Circe Sanders, you are my heart. You're my everything right now. You've made me into a better person and helped me become a little more sensitive and acute in what I'm doing for the community and for my family. And of course my kids, Kyla, Micah, Trey, Madison, all of them. We even called Jaja my little son. And I just want to thank y'all for loving me and giving me support, and I wouldn't be here without you guys, because you are a motivating force. Even my ex-wife, she helped me become stronger. And when I had my first child, I had to stop being silly, and make sure I brought money home for my kids. So yeah, it's funny how children help you evolve.
Yeah. And your beautiful mother.
Yeah.
Beautiful mother.
My mother, Joanne Sanders. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she's been always a person that's a nurturer. She helped me understand, that that there's always a smart woman. If you're smart and you think about this, there has to be a brilliant woman behind every brilliant man. There has to be so, because you could get but so far without having a partner to bounce these ideas. A lot of times, and they might be even different than you are. Like my father and mother. My mother was different than my father. My wife is different than me. So we would say some opposites attract. So she sees things I don't see.
Right.
So I want to thank all my family and friends and community for supporting the show. And Steve, thanks again for doing it.
Give a shout out to your Wisdom Shaped Mind Advisory
Wisdom,
Panel.
the board of Wisdom Shaped Minds. And of course, even all of the folks that are involved in Community All Unite TV, all of my folks that I work with in my architecture firm and the construction company, and even the development team that we're putting together. I want to thank all of them for their support.
Great. Chris, I want to thank you for this time. I think we had a great interview. We went in depth with, so now when people see you out, they understand what really makes you tick.
Yeah.
And why you're successful and why you're going to be a born leader in this community and others.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for allowing me to interview you.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, my brother.
Yeah,
thank you.
Definitely.
Community.
It's a fight now.
Right now.